If we look at the beginning of the space race, we must go back to the Cold War era. The Cold War was a competition between the United States and the Soviet Union in every conceivable arena, including space to develop aerospace capabilities, artificial satellites, unmanned space probes, and human space flight. When the Soviets started the Venera program to visit Venus, it set off alarm bells that created intense fear and anxiety among the American public. Today, we'll be talking about one of the space missions that gives us the first glimpse about Venus, the morning and evening star. So how did it survive in that environment? What are the discoveries we've made as a result of it? Stay tuned until the end to find out.
Audio Jungle.
Venera 9 was a Soviet uncrewed space mission to Venus. It consisted of an orbiter and a lander. It was launched on June 8, 1975 and weighed 4,936 kilograms. The orbiter was the first spacecraft to orbit Venus, while the lander was the first to return images from another planet's surface. The descent craft/lander was made up of a spherical body mounted by struts on a toroidal landing platform and topped by a disc, the titanium aerobrake, and a cylindrical tower. The lander stood 2 meters tall and weighed 660 kilograms. Data would be transmitted at 256 bits per second through a helical antenna wrapped around the upper cylinder, with the orbiter acting as a communications relay to Earth. It had a panoramic imaging system mounted 90 centimeters above the base, as well as a thermometer, barometer, anemometer, mass spectrometer, photometer, nephelometer, gamma-ray spectrometer, radiation densitometer, and accelerometers. On October 20, 1975, the orbiter entered Venus's orbit. Its mission was to serve as a communications relay for the lander, as well as to investigate cloud layers and atmospheric parameters using a variety of instruments and experiments. In the period from October 26 to December 25, 1975, it completed 17 survey missions. After receiving the first panoramas of Venus's surface in 1975, the question of existence of life forms on the planet barely arose. Surprisingly, in the first panoramic view transmitted by Venera 9, there was a motionless object with a strange symmetrical shape resembling a sitting bird measuring about 30 centimeters. The object drew attention and was described as a deceptive stone form. It was the first spacecraft to return an image from another planet's surface. Many of the instruments began working immediately after touchdown, and the cameras were operational 2 minutes later. These tools revealed a smooth surface covered in stones. The lander measured a light level of 14,000 lux, which is comparable to Earth in full daylight but without direct sunlight. The heat load was distributed using a circulating fluid system. This system, combined with pre-cooling before entry, allowed the lander to operate for 53 minutes after landing, after which radio contact with the orbiter was lost as the orbiter moved out of radio range. Heat dissipation and deceleration were achieved sequentially during descent by protective hemispheric shells, 3 parachutes, a disc-shaped drag brake, and a compressible metal donut-shaped landing cushion. The landing site was approximately 2,200 kilometers, 1,400 miles away from the Venera 10 landing site. The lander's aerodynamic braking during Venusian atmospheric entry and panoramic photometer for taking pictures of the surface were both features of its brand new design. Venera 9 measured clouds 30 to 40 kilometers thick, with bases at 30 to 35 kilometers, 19 to 22 miles altitude. It also measured atmospheric chemicals such as hydrochloric acid, hydrofluoric acid, bromine, and iodine. Other measurements included a surface pressure of about 9,100 kilopascals, a temperature of 485 degrees Celsius, and surface light levels comparable to those at Earth's mid-latitudes on a cloudy summer day. Venera 9 was the first probe to return television images in black and white from the Venusian surface, revealing no shadows, no visible dust in the air, and a variety of uneroded 30 to 40 centimeters, 12 to 16-inch rocks. Planned 360-degree panoramic photos could not be taken because one of 2 camera lens covers failed to come off, limiting pictures to 180 degrees. This failure recurred with Venera 10. As the Venera 9 lander went silent, the orbiter's science equipment continued to collect data on temperature conditions at various altitudes, the composition of the planet's upper atmosphere and cloud layers, and the interaction of the solar wind with the planet. The mission ended on Christmas Eve 1975, more than 6 months after it began. On March 22, 1976, the Soviets declared that the orbiter's primary mission had been completed. What's fascinating is that Earth and Venus are roughly the same sizes. Venus is slightly smaller, but not by much. They both have similar gravitational pull and formed in the same region of the solar system. They most likely formed around the same time. And you'd think they'd evolve similarly, but they didn't. Earth and Venus took very different paths. Exploring the surface of Venus is difficult due to the intense heat and crushing air pressure. That is why Venera 9 didn't last long, but at least we learned about another planet for the first time. For decades, space exploration has been saving and improving lives all over the world. Not only have they increased our understanding of what exists beyond Earth, but it has also made life on Earth easier. Many of the technologies and inventions developed for use by astronauts, ships, and probes have become very useful in our daily lives. If we're talking about spacecraft, Venera 9 deserves full credit for being the first to return an image from the surface of another planet. This helped scientists learn more about another planet and also assisted other space companies in developing faultless spacecraft. But space exploration is only the beginning. We can expect more surprises in the future than we ever imagined. Are you ready, guys? Tell us in the comments. That's it for today, and see you in the next video.